Hey guys, Hikaru here, aka King of Charmanders, aka the guy that likes doing meta stuff and likes boring you by telling you all about things that no longer exist, like this video right here, because this moveset actually no longer exists. So we're actually here to explore just how broke G Linoone like post the 618 fix when they actually fixed this thing and then they made the movesets, or they actually just returned the movesets to their original movesets. And they kind of did an oopsie. Niantic did a little, oh, whoops, we jacked up. We are sorry. But then we'll give you 50,000 Stardust. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. You know what? We're just going to go right into your inbox. And we're just going to change all the movesets of the hard-earned Pokemon that you double moved. And you spent dust for thinking you had to give 50 to your friend, or 50 to your friends. You saved 50 for your friends, and all that dust is now pretty much wasted. Now you have a bunch of double move G Linoone sitting there out of nowhere. The goal of this video is to truly explore. Is G Linoone really that good? Like, is it broken? In my initial opinions, no, it's not. It's really good. Don't get me wrong, it's really good. But as far as operating in the meta, it's not great. And we're going to explore why in this video shortly. Alright, so a little history about the Galarian Linoone. If you want to take my old video from before to just see how it would operate, in my opinions on if it stayed and some actual footage, please click on the description below. Otherwise, keep on reading on. As you see here, this is the G Linoone. The source is from Bulbapedia. This is also in the description. Linoone can run up to 60 miles per hour, but has to stop before it can take a turn. It often fails to catch prey due to be able to run in a straight line. Linoone also struggles on roads that are curvy or winding. In other words, it cannot do no nuts. It cannot curve, swipe, and weave, bob and weave its opponents. It can only run in a straight line, and that kind of sucks. Anyways, its typing is normal/dark. Its moveset from the pre-Niantic fix on 6/18, 2020. Its fast move, the exclusive fast move was Shadow Claw, and its charge move were Grass Knot/Thunder. In other words, it got its Hoenn moveset into the Galarian moveset, which actually is pretty good. It made it a lot more viable and a lot more powerful. And we're going to see here just exactly how powerful it is on the meta chart you're going to see next. How did it exactly stack up against the meta? As you see, G Linoone, a lot of trainers spent a lot of Stardust for it. I powered one up too, but unfortunately it was just for fun and experimentation. But fortunately, other trainers weren't so lucky. So a lot of other people were saying like, oh, this is like really broken, oh, it's PvP, oh, this is gonna swap. We're gonna explore exactly what it is. I'm not saying it's not good. It's very good. Is it absolutely game-changing? Does it bust a meta? Will it be like the G Pancake, the Galarian Stunfist, that went as soon as it was released, took a spot in the top 3 of the BBML? Unfortunately, no, and I'm gonna tell you why shortly. Alright, so here's a fancy little chart here to where what the G Linoone actually beats and what it doesn't beat. If you look at the left, this is what beats G Linoone: Altaria, Reggie, Tropius, Skarmory, DD. And the reason why Toxicroak is there is because practically every fighter or pseudo fighter along with Charmers actually beats G Linoone. Now, for what beats G Linoone, those picks are very popular to the left. G Linoone does very poorly against a lot of flyers, specifically Skarmory because of its resistance, and Altaria, as we will see on the pvpoke.com analysis. Now, like I said, because it loses against fighters, charmers, etc., some of those picks are very popular, and unfortunately, because of G Linoone isn't very, it's not super bulky. It's kind of like in the middle. So G Linoone has a uphill battle against a lot of the popular Open Great League meta. Now, what it beats is it beats Alola Marowak, it beats Swampert, it also beats Azumarill, and it beats Haunters, but Haunters will usually get walled, especially by a dark normal typing. But usually it will get walled if it has purely Shadow Ball. If it has Sludge Wave, it might have a different result. As you see right here, it also beats Sableye, and it beats G Stunfist, but that matchup isn't as bad as it looks if you actually run the sim. So what's this list right here is that we're going to analyze in the ppoke.com analysis the actual patterns of Open Great League that you saw in Season 2. G Stunfisk is good. Don't get me wrong, it's very good. However, is it like G Galarian Pancake where literally upon its release it shot up to the top 3 and is essentially part of BBML core, or is very powerful? It's not quite that powerful, and I'm gonna explain to you guys why. Now, I just put this fancy chart out here because I know some people like pictures, and for it's a nice little chart to see like what you see, what actually beats G Linoone, and what the old G Linoone with Legacy, with Shadow Claw, Grass Knot, and Body Slam would actually beat in the current meta. Now, we're going to analyze those popular meta patterns that on the next slide on ppoke.com, like I said. Galarian Linoone is powerful, but it's not unlike Galarian Stunfisk, it's not actually like game breaking, nor is it like a monster anti-meta pick. Alright, so here's our pvppoke.com analysis. If you take a look at my last video, if you look below there, on the description, I'm going to link you to the previous video where I did an analysis on Galarian Linoone before this entire thing came out, where it got fixed. So I managed to do an analysis before then, and now we're going to take a look at the rankings. Before it was at rank 15, now it's dropped considerably lower. If you look at Linoone, Linoone now stands at 178 with Body Slam Gunk Shot. It loses against the old picks where Azumarill, it already still lost against Altaria. It beat Alola Marowak, however, it still lost against Skarmory, and it still lost against Registeel. And its key wins, as you see, its key wins still stand with most picks. It got considerably weaker and considerably lower as a result of its drop. It went from rank 15 to rank 178. Now, if we look at the leads and closers and switches, the popular leads, closers, and switches that you do see in patterns on ppoke.com, it's actually not surprising that even the old moveset would do pretty bad. So, our leads, if you take it off, so Linoone was incredibly strong as a lead. Galarian Linoone was strong as a lead. If you look at what we do when we hold the battle and you do the multi-battle simulation with everything, so you hold multi-battle, Galarian Linoone, Galarian Linoone, or just Linoone in general, Linoone, there you go. Then you put the Galarian version, and then we're going to put its custom moveset, so we're going to put its custom moveset where it had Shadow Claw. And then you had Grass Knot. Like I said, this was already analyzed before. If you want to see the comparisons between before and now, please take a look, and it'll give you a great analysis on how it was. As you see, very powerful and does very well. Now, if you scroll down, I'm going to see what it beats. And then we're going to go in. So if we're going down here, and we go down, what it beats and what it doesn't beat, as you see, just a few things, and then I'm going to do a Control F here, and we're going to look at Azumarill. As you see, it has very strong matchups against Azumarill as before. And then, call it, against Azumarill, and then against some mud boys such as Swampert. It was strong against Swampert. How about Wishcash? It does beat Daddy Cash very well as well. So, Galarian Linoone was very strong as a pattern as far as a lead. That's where Galarian Linoone's strengths lied. It was a great lead, and then it was able to break shields. However, would I run it in place of per se like something such as for example, I use Shiftry as my lead, but the reason I use Shiftry was very specific because Leaf Blade does heavy damage against the meta, and also you had Foul Play to counter Deoxys defense and to counter things and to be neutral against things that would resist Leaf Blade, like Tropius, etc. Now, popular pattern for leads was Registeel. Registeels were very popular, and if you saw Registeel in the lead, you had to immediately switch out. If you look at the comparison, Galarian Linoone was in fact strong as lead. However, the reason why Registeel is so strong is because of Focus Blast. If Galarian Linoone eats a Focus Blast, it's pretty much done. It also loses against Altaria, and it barely will beat Galarian Stunfisk. If we run the sim, I will run the sim on Galarian Stunfisk. However, Galarian Stunfisk would be a popular lead as well, as you see over here. Overall, as a lead, it's 98.8%. As a switch, it's very powerful as well. Deoxys defense, which Deoxys defenses were pretty popular too. If you see that Galarian Linoone actually loses against Deoxys defense in the lead because of its dual typing, where it's weak against normal and its dark types as well. Alright, so you see overall, like, the reason why G Stunfisk loses in the lead against Deoxys defense. Let's take a look at it. So if we did a battle simulation on Deoxys defense, which is kind of ironic, because Linoone, Galarian, even with the new moveset, just because of counter, it's a very big liability in, let's say, a team with Deoxys defense in the lead. There were a lot of patterns as far as leads go. You had fighters, you had things like Toxicroak, Vigoroth was one of them. You had Mud Boys, and you had things like the old BBML, so Altaria, Registeel, let's see, Bastiodon, etc. So there were still, we're going to explore every single one of those, and I'm going to give you a rundown of Season 2 Open League, Great League Mega, and if it came back, how it would affect it. So, Shadow Claw. And now we're going to explore. So these are the patterns you'll see the most. Ironically, Deoxys defense. This is the example of pseudo fighters. Pseudo fighters means that they usually have counter. That's what I'm calling. That's why I call them a pseudo fighter, because they're counter, as you see. Deoxys defense wins pretty dang good. It literally just countering it down in the one shield. You lose every shield scenario against Deoxys defense, despite the fact that somehow that Dark beats and Shadow Claw does super effective damage against Deoxys D. The double is just too much of a liability, that double weakness to fighters. And not just fight, that's a pseudo fighter. This is Toxicroak. Toxicroak, arguably, along with Vigoroth, was one of the most used fighters in the lead. Along with that, you also had Vigoroth. How about Vigoroth? Good old Vigoroth, right? Vigoroth, come on. You had to beat Vigoroth too, right? No, Vigoroth beats all shield scenarios as well. So fighters, pseudo fighters, that's done. Charmers is another thing. So Charmers, for example, oh wait, I put Charmer. For example, let's put Clefairy. That's why Galarian Linoone, that's why I compare Galarian Linoone to Skifter a lot, because they cover very similarly. They have a move with grass. They have a grass typing that covers Mud Boys, etc. It covers Azumarill, and it covers Azumarill, and you got Body Slap. So here's you lose all your matchups against Clefairy. You win against some Charmers, like some off-the-wall ones, like, for example, Sensei with Charm. I don't know if, I'm pretty sure you do win some scenarios, but even Sensei still wins everything as a Charmer. It's deadly. Like, okay, here you go. 2 shield. Here's what happens. Welcome to Charmland. Literally just charm down, and your poor Galarian Linoone is just dead. So, and then this is what we'll look at. So so Charmers, we've covered fighters, all good old flying fortress chicken thingy, which is Altaria. That's another thing. Galarian Linoone does win some scenarios, as you see, in a 2 shield. But watch just how close this matchup is. Watch how close it is. Welcome to barely beating the chicken. You actually very barely beat the chicken, and the reason why it faints is because of the body slam. That's in the 2 shield. So if Altaria's up in the 1 shield, you actually lose just because Dragon Breath does so much damage. That's the 2 shield scenario. As you see, it would lose. Galarian Linoone against most patterns would lose very handily. It's not an insanely great choice. See, you would lose very. So most patterns on leads, like I said, operates very much like Shiftry. The funny thing is, you don't even beat Shiftry. You don't even beat Shiftry with this moveset. Shiftry will beat you in every scenario except if you are up a shield. If you're literally up a shield, that's pretty much it. You must be up a shield, or you win the 2-to-1s, and I think it's very likely due to body slam, because the body slam just gets you down. And there's body slam. Ironically, even Shifter became more prominent because of Shifter Community Day, and just yeah. So most patterns, Galarian, if I had to grade it, you get a C for the lead. Even though it's very strong as lead, the problem with Galarian Linoone is that you'll lose against most meta lead patterns. If you get the Mud Boy or if you get the Azumarill, you better hope that the other 2 don't do very well against it. It's just Galarian Linoone is such a liability against, like I said, fighters, against very strong closers and switches. That's Galarian Linoone as a lead. Now let's analyze it as a switch. You do not want to use it as a switch because, like I mentioned before, even if you put it as a switch, watch. So let's go back to the rankings. Let's see what ranks as your switch. What does G Linoone lose to that I just mentioned that's in the switch? Deoxys defense, it loses against that. It loses against that. Galarian Stunfisk. This is an interesting thing about Galarian Stunfisk. If you battle with Galarian Stunfisk, watch what happens. Put G Linoone, Galarian with old moveset. You will actually very barely beat a Linoone. This matchup is very IV dependent. Grass Knot, and then here's Galarian Stunfisk. Oh, go back, Stunfisk. And put in the Gmorph right here, and then run that sim. So you run it right here, and then run that sim, and then you get Galarian Linoone. Let's flip it upside down. You will win this matchup by 14. Now, if you do it in a 2-shield, as far as, for example, if you put Galarian Linoone in the lead, you will actually very barely win. This is assuming perfect IVs. You will win with 1 HP. So even against Galarian Stunfisk, where it said in the old on my analysis before, where it's very strong against Galarian Stunfisk, where it's strong, but not as strong as people think. Just hope your IVs are good. See? That 1 HP doesn't. So against most patterns, especially with G Stunfisk, as a lead, Galarian Linoone isn't that great. As a switch, so like I said, we're going to analyze switches right now. And I'm going to analyze switches right now. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this tab so we don't have to keep going back and forth. So here we go. So we're going to duplicate that tab. I'm going to go back to this, and then we're going to go into the lead. So we're going to go to the rank. Here's the lead. There's the lead right here. Here's your switches. Like I said, you lose against Deoxys defense handily. You lose against Galarian Stunfisk. And a lot of these picks as switches, Registeel, Altaria, etc. If a fighter switches into you, you're dead. That's basically what it is. So example, you send in Galarian Linoone, they switch into you send Galarian Linoone in as kind of like a safe switch, it's not viable at all. You will die. Unless it's an Azumarill, which it clearly beats, which your opponent, if you have to switch, your opponent likely won't switch into an Azumarill. So as a switch, it's horrible. If you took a look at the old stats, like I said in the description below, like I said, it's not good as a switch, it's not good as a closer. This is the switches analyst, and now here's the closers. Now your closers, guess what it loses against? It loses to Registeel. Hi Registeel. Now Azumarill is a different story. So let's do this, and then let's compare it to Azumarill. Now Azumarill, of course, is going to lose a lot of matchups because of its typing, and just because of Grass Knot. So in the Zero Shields, obviously, high Grass Knot. Grass Knot will hit, and it doesn't even die to 1 Grass Knot. You have to use actually 2 Grass Knots to kill the Azumarill. It's not just 1. It's 2. So, as a closer, Azumarill, dead. You have Raikou, Electivire, like a lot against a Stunfisk in the closer, like we mentioned. It's not very convincingly powerful. As you see a lot of Altarias, you will barely beat Altarias, especially if you have good Altarias. Like I said, it's as a closer. As a switch to the closer, the reason we're ranked so low is just because the patterns that you saw, as far as like, oh, Deoxys defense being a safe switch, or like it's not good. In the higher stages, if you saw Sableye, so if we ran it against Sableye, Galarian Linoone is strong against Sableye, but that's only because of dark typing. So Sableye and Ghost type. Sableye Power Gym. Now this is just assuming that this is the Power Gym version. Now if you give it Return, which was the variant everybody was doing, along with the Best Buddy one, let's do Best Buddies because most of everybody running that Best Buddy variation had it. So as you see here, you do win everything. You do win against Sableye, except when they're up a shield or up 2 shields. And the 0-1s and 1-2s. Well, actually 0-1s and 0-2s. So then you take that out, and then that's not even like considering the fact that's not level 41. So let's do 41. Let's maximize, and then let's run the sim and see what happens. And then we get still the same thing. So it doesn't make, it's not a titanical difference, but like I said, like with the Best Buddy, most people were running this. So it actually doesn't. So from analysis, in the higher levels, people like those that are using safe switch Sableyes, yes, it's still strong, but also so is Shiftery. Like I said, Shiftery. Now, as your closers, obviously you're probably going to fall to Registeel very quickly. As you see, G Linoone versus Registeel in the back versus Altaria in the back. Let's analyze Altaria again. Altaria in the back. in the zeros, you barely win the zeros. So if your opponent plays well, they still have play against you. If Altaria has a shield, you are done in the closing scenarios. And then Galarian Linoone, if you get a fighter back, just pray. Just pray. You lose against almost every fighter and almost every charmer. Actually, I've never found a fighter or a charmer. There could be one out there, but the patterns that are used the most, you will very, very not likely win. So with all this data composed, like I said, from a switch and a closer, there's a reason why Galarian Linoone isn't recommended as a switch or a closer, even with the old moveset. Just because at Body Slam and Grass Knot, it's not a very strong compared to the top 3 or the top 4 where G Stunfisk lies. G Linoone at 15 just doesn't amount. There's a reason why BBML is so powerful, and this trio right here, or these 5 even, are just so powerful. Even if you get Umbreon, like Umbreon was another like here's an X Factor. You get Umbreon. Here, let's explore Umbreon. How exactly well did you do against Umbreon? Umbreon wins and beats you in every scenario unless you are up a shield, or you are up 2 shields, or you up a shield or up 2 shields. And even then, from the 2 to 1s, you don't even convincingly beat it. As you see right there. So in summary, which I'm going to cover at the end, you barely win. You barely win. So, like I said, in summary, as a lead, Galarian Linoone's use, closer, switch, yes, but it's very good, but it's not, like I said, it's not like Galarian Stunfisk where it's obscenely broken and like if it's like, yo, this is something that if a lot of people didn't have, would have an exceptional advantage in most metas. And most factive, it does not compare. It just because, like I said, even the normal dark typing is just typing's bad. Typing's a liability, and depending on which team you put it in, it can be very strong. But even then, like if you face very good players, it's very difficult to run around the meta pattern for Open Great League Season 2. Even in Season 1, Galarian Linoone would have trouble, especially with Registeels in the back or used as switches. You would have a lot of trouble against them. It would not be a good time. Alright, so here's my key summary / takeaway. The key takeaway is G Linoone was very strong, however it does not function well against most meta patterns. I think that's where it becomes a liability. It's not really, it's something that would have been fun to have, but not obscenely broken. It's not something that really like challenges the meta pattern to where it will literally break the meta, and this thing, it's basically, if I had to compare it very closely, Galarian Linoone isn't like Cresselia, for example. It's not like Moonblast, where it literally shifted the focus of a meta to one particular mod, or you have to beat this particular mod. G Linoone is very beatable, and there's no debuff or anything like that, nor is it particularly tanky that really makes it such a game changer, in my opinion. And because I used it heavily and I analyzed that Shifter is a better option. And like I said before, it's too much a liability to be something as game breaking. For example, like Galarian Stunfisk. The reason Galarian Stunfisk shot up to the number 4 slot is because it's very powerful. Steel and Ground is very good. It charges very well its moveset, and not only that, Ground and Rock has a lot of coverage. It's basically an upgraded Registeel with a different style if you hate Lock-On. Like some people that I know, they absolutely hate Lock-On. So that's a different story. But yeah, it's not as game breaking as G Stunfisk, for example. And extra notes, if you want something like Galarian Linoone, just use Shiftry. Shiftry functions very much like it. It covers it covers the patterns that you would have to use, that you would use against pretty much G Linoone. G Linoone is basically not exactly a poor man's Shiftry. It's just like, it's basically a different version of Shiftry with like some different patterns that it would do, but definitely not as game breaking. Like I said, it's sad that it was taken away. I hope that the players that actually like put a lot into it. Me, I don't really care in my end because I didn't put as much into it, but some players did put a massive amount, and they were really good-hearted battlers that really wanted to help their friends get that, and they spent a lot of dust trying to help their friends out. In my opinion, Niantic should absolutely compensate those individual players that spent a whole lot of dust for them. Because this thing, like I said, this thing does not break anything. Even if it was stayed in the game, it wouldn't have broken everything. And Niantic's mistake shouldn't be that. If you want me to compare it like to back in the day, I'm gonna put it, like Shadow Ball Mewtwo back in the day. Shadow Ball Mewtwo was out for like an hour, and it was very relevant back in the day, and they never changed it. So the whole justification where Niantic should fix it now, not really a good justification. Niantic just suddenly got a lot less lazier because honestly, with everything happening with GBL, with like the whole Jesus exploit and everything, with especially battling in general, it puts them under a lot of scrutiny, especially under different gaming companies because like you don't fix things, you don't fix your competitive platform, so it kind of damages your image in a way. So seeing them a lot more responsive now, it's a good thing to see. However, like I said, like for those that were trying to help their friends out, for those that actually like put the dust in and like it would hurt them a lot because they're like, hey, do this because of peer pressure, whatever, compensate them accordingly. It's only fair. It's only fair. And like I said, if you really want to challenge that it's such game breaking, look at this video, watch back at it. I want to look at every point because unlike, like I said, G Stunfisk, it is not particularly game breaking. In fact, it would actually, if G Linoone was the way it was, it would probably promote more use of BBML picks. So you would see more BBML because of the patterns. It would the meta patterns that are here right now would actually be stronger with G Linoone in the lineup, just because of the huge liability it is as a pseudo counter and as against Charmers. Again, please like, subscribe, comment. Anything you want me to analyze, put in the comments. This is a very detailed and deep dive, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. And you guys have a wonderful day.